I grew up in a small town called Pine Grove in Oregon, where everyone knew each other by name. My parents, Trenton, 58M, and Michelle, 56F, opened Sweet Memories Bakery when I was just a toddler. The bakery quickly became the heart of our community, known for its mouthwatering pies and warm atmosphere. My younger sister Megan, 25F, and I spent countless hours there after school, helping out and sneaking treats when our parents weren't looking. Megan and I were inseparable growing up. Despite our 3-year age gap, we shared everything: clothes, secrets, and dreams. We'd spend hours planning our futures, imagining what our lives would be like when we grew up. I always thought we'd run the bakery together someday, carrying on our parents' legacy. Our childhood wasn't all sugar and spice, though. When I was 14 and Megan was 11, our dad Trenton had a severe accident at the bakery. He slipped on a wet floor and hit his head, resulting in a traumatic brain injury. The following months were tough as he underwent intensive therapy to regain his speech and motor skills. During this time, Mom practically lived at the hospital, leaving Megan and me to take care of each other and help run the bakery after school. This experience brought our family even closer together, but it also planted a seed of worry in me. I realized how fragile life could be and how quickly everything could change. I think this is when my protective instinct towards my family really kicked in. Despite the challenges, we pulled through as a family. Dad recovered, though he never quite regained his full strength on his left side. The bakery continued to thrive, becoming even more of a community hub as people rallied around us during Dad's recovery. As we grew older, Megan and I started to develop different interests. While she inherited Mom's passion for baking and experimenting with new recipes, I found myself drawn to technology. I spent hours tinkering with our old family computer, teaching myself coding from books I borrowed from the local library. When it came time for college, I surprised everyone, including myself, by applying to the University of Washington in Seattle. It was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but I felt a pull towards the tech world that I couldn't ignore. My parents were supportive, even though I could see the disappointment in their eyes. Megan took it the hardest. The night before I left for Seattle, she crawled into my bed like we used to do as kids and made me promise I'd come back. College was a whirlwind of new experiences. I threw myself into my computer science studies, joining coding clubs, and taking on challenging internships. But no matter how busy I got, I always made time to call home every Sunday night. I'd hear about the latest town gossip, Megan's adventures in the kitchen, and how business was going at the bakery. After graduation, I landed a job at Technocrat, a rising star in the Seattle tech scene. The work was challenging and exciting, pushing me to grow in ways I never imagined. But as I climbed the corporate ladder, my visits home became less frequent. I'd make it back for major holidays and the occasional long weekend, but it never felt like enough. It was at Technocrat that I met Zeke, 30M. He was brilliant, ambitious, and charming, everything I thought I wanted in a partner. We bonded over our shared love of coding and our drive to succeed. Zeke came from a wealthy family in San Francisco, and his upbringing couldn't have been more different from mine. While I grew up in an apron covered in flour, he grew up in tailored suits attending charity galas. Our whirlwind romance swept me off my feet. We got married after 2 years of dating in a lavish ceremony that Zeke's parents insisted on throwing. My family seemed out of place amidst the glitz and glamour, but they put on brave faces for my sake. The first cracks in our relationship started to show when Zeke and I visited Pine Grove for Christmas the year after we got married. Zeke seemed uncomfortable with the small-town atmosphere, making snide comments about the lack of fine dining options and the outdated technology at the bakery. I brushed it off as culture shock, hoping he'd warm up to my hometown eventually. But as time went on, Zeke's attitude towards my family and background didn't improve. He'd make excuses to skip visits to Oregon, and when he did come, he'd spend most of the time on his phone or complaining about the slow internet. I found myself caught between two worlds, trying to balance my life in Seattle with my roots in Pine Grove. Despite the growing tension, I tried to make it work. I threw myself into my career, earning promotions and accolades at Technocrat. Zeke and I bought a beautiful condo in downtown Seattle with a view of the Space Needle. From the outside, we looked like the perfect power couple. But something was always missing. I missed the warmth of the bakery, the smell of fresh bread in the morning, and the sound of Megan's laughter as we experimented with new recipes. I tried to fill the void by sending care packages filled with Seattle's finest coffee and artisanal chocolates to my family, but it wasn't the same as being there. Then, about a year ago, I received the call that would change everything. It was Mom, her voice shaky as she told me that Megan had been diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. The world seemed to stop spinning as Mom explained the details: the late-night emergency room visit, the battery of tests, and the grim prognosis from the oncologist. Without hesitation, I told Mom I'd be on the next flight to Oregon. When I hung up, I broke down in tears. Zeke found me curled up on the floor of our home office, sobbing uncontrollably. I managed to choke out what had happened between gasps for air. Zeke's reaction was not what I expected or needed. Instead of offering comfort, he immediately started talking about logistics. How long will treatment take? Will your parents be able to handle the medical bills? You can't just leave your job, Allison. We have commitments here. I was stunned by his lack of empathy. This was my baby sister we were talking about, the same sister who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, who cried when I left for college, who still sent me care packages filled with her latest baking experiments. How could Zeke not understand the gravity of the situation? We argued for hours. I insisted on taking a leave of absence from work to be with my family. Zeke argued that it was unnecessary, that my parents could handle it, that I was overreacting. The more he pushed back, the more determined I became. In the end, I packed my bags and left for Oregon, leaving a frustrated Zeke behind in Seattle. The moment I walked into the hospital and saw Megan, pale, scared, but trying to put on a brave face, I knew I had made the right decision. The next few months were a blur of hospital visits, chemotherapy sessions, and long nights at the bakery trying to keep the business afloat while my parents focused on Megan. I fell back into the rhythm of small-town life, reconnecting with old friends and rediscovering the simple joys of my childhood home. Zeke and I talked sporadically, our conversation strained and uncomfortable. He'd ask about Megan's condition in a detached way, then quickly shift to talking about work or our condo or the latest tech news. It felt like we were speaking different languages. As weeks turned into months, I found myself re-evaluating everything: my career, my marriage, my priorities. The ambitious tech executive I had become in Seattle felt like a stranger compared to the small-town girl who found comfort in the warmth of a kitchen and the strength of family bonds. Yesterday, I received a call from my boss at Technocrat. The company is going through a restructuring, and my position is being eliminated. They offered me a different role, but it would require me to return to Seattle immediately. The old me would have jumped at the opportunity, seeing it as a chance to prove myself in a new challenge. But now, as I watch Megan fight for her life and see the toll it's taking on our parents, I'm not sure I can leave. The thought of returning to Seattle, to a husband who doesn't understand the importance of family, to a job that suddenly seems less fulfilling, makes me feel hollow inside. Zeke thinks I'm being irrational, that I'm throwing away everything we've built together. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm sacrificing my career and my marriage for my family. But sitting here in the quiet of my childhood home, listening to the familiar creak of the floorboards and the distant hum of the bakery ovens, I can't bring myself to leave. I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads, and whichever path I choose, I'll be leaving something important behind. Am I wrong for wanting to stay with my family? Should I prioritize my career and marriage over my family's needs? How do I reconcile the person I've become with the person I used to be? I'd appreciate any advice or perspectives as I try to navigate this impossible situation. Update 1: It's been a month since my last post, and I want to thank everyone for their thoughtful advice and support. Your words have been a source of comfort during this challenging time. After much soul-searching and many sleepless nights, I made the difficult decision to stay in Oregon with my family. I turned down the new position at Technocrat, knowing full well that it might significantly impact my career trajectory. But watching Megan's brave battle with leukemia and seeing the toll it's taking on my parents, I couldn't bear the thought of leaving them to face this alone. When I called Zeke to inform him of my decision, his reaction was even worse than I had anticipated. He accused me of being selfish and short-sighted, saying I was throwing away everything we had worked for. "You're choosing your past over our future, Allison," he said, his voice cold and distant. We argued for hours, rehashing old grievances and bringing up issues I thought we had long since resolved. In the heat of the moment, Zeke revealed that he had been offered a prestigious position at a cutting-edge AI firm in New York City. He hadn't mentioned it before because he assumed I'd be returning to Seattle soon. Now, he said, he was seriously considering taking the job, with or without me. His words felt like a slap in the face. I realized that while I had been agonizing over this decision, losing sleep and feeling torn between my two worlds, Zeke had been making plans that didn't necessarily include me. It was a painful revelation, one that forced me to confront the growing distance between us. In the weeks that followed, Zeke and I barely spoke. He sent a few terse text messages asking about Megan's condition, but that was it. Meanwhile, I threw myself into helping my family. Megan's treatment was grueling, but she was fighting with everything she had. I spent most of my days either at the hospital with her or helping my parents at the bakery. Being back at Sweet Memories Bakery stirred up a mix of emotions. On one hand, it felt like coming home. The familiar scent of freshly baked bread, the sound of the old cash register, the warmth of the ovens, it all brought back a flood of childhood memories. On the other hand, it was painful to see how much my parents had aged in the short time I'd been away. The stress of Megan's illness had taken its toll, leaving them looking tired and worn. I found myself slipping back into my old role, waking up at dawn to help Dad with the morning bake, then heading to the hospital to sit with Megan during her treatments. In the evenings, I'd return to the bakery to help close up and do the books. It was exhausting, but it felt right. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. One particularly tough day, after a grueling chemo session that left Megan weak and nauseous, I broke down in the hospital parking lot. As I sat in my car, sobbing uncontrollably, I felt a sudden urge to call Zeke. I wanted him to comfort me, to tell me everything would be okay. But as I reached for my phone, I realized with a pang that Zeke wasn't the person I could turn to anymore. Instead, I called my childhood best friend, Emma, who lived a few towns over. She arrived at the hospital within an hour, armed with hugs and my favorite comfort food from the local diner. It was during a late-night chat with Emma, over lukewarm coffee in the hospital cafeteria, that I received an unexpected call from my old boss at Technocrat. She told me about a new remote position that had opened up in the company. It would allow me to work from anywhere, including Oregon. The role aligned perfectly with my skills and experience, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Excited about this new opportunity, I called Zeke to share the news. I hoped it might help bridge the growing gap between us. His response left me cold. "That's convenient," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Now you can have your cake and eat it too, right? Play the devoted daughter and sister while keeping your career on the back burner." His words stung, but they also provided clarity. I realized that the man I married couldn't understand or support the most fundamental part of who I am, my love and commitment to my family. The ambitious, career-driven woman he fell in love with in Seattle was only one facet of my personality. There was another part of me, the small-town girl who found joy in simple pleasures and drew strength from family bonds, that Zeke had never fully accepted or understood. As our call ended, Zeke dropped another bombshell. He had decided to accept the job in New York. He gave me an ultimatum: either I move to New York with him, leaving my family behind, or we end our marriage. "I can't put my life on hold while you play Florence Nightingale in Oregon," he said. "I love you, Allison, but I won't let you hold me back." Now, I find myself facing an impossible choice. Do I try to salvage my marriage by moving to New York with Zeke, leaving my family when they need me most? Or do I stay in Oregon, knowing it will likely mean the end of my marriage? Megan's condition has stabilized somewhat, but she still has a long road ahead. My parents are grateful for my help, and I know they're counting on me. The remote job offer from Technocrat provides a potential solution to my career concerns. But I can't help feeling guilty about the strain on my marriage. As I write this update, sitting in my childhood bedroom surrounded by memories of a simpler time, I feel both lost and found. Lost in the sense that the future I had planned with Zeke seems to be slipping away. But found in the sense that I've rediscovered parts of myself I thought I had left behind in Pine Grove. I'm trying to take things one day at a time, focusing on being there for Megan and my parents. But the weight of the decision I need to make hangs heavy on my shoulders. I'd appreciate any thoughts or advice as I navigate this difficult situation. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. Once again, I want to express my gratitude for all the support and advice I've received. It's been a lifeline during this tumultuous time. After my last post, I knew I needed to have an honest conversation with Zeke. We arranged a video call, and for the first time in months, we really talked. I explained how hurt I was by his lack of support and understanding. I told him about the guilt I felt for not being there when Megan first got sick, about the joy I found in helping at the bakery, and about rediscovering the parts of myself I had suppressed in my pursuit of corporate success. Zeke listened, but I could see the frustration building behind his eyes. When it was his turn to speak, he didn't hold back. He said he felt like he was competing with my family for my attention, that this wasn't what he signed up for when we got married. He talked about feeling betrayed that I had abandoned our life in Seattle, accusing me of not considering his feelings or ambitions. As we talked, it became clear that our fundamental values were too different. Zeke couldn't understand why I'd sacrificed my career for my family, and I couldn't comprehend how he could be so dismissive of my sister's illness and my family's needs. In a last-ditch effort to save our marriage, we agreed to try couples counseling. We had a few sessions over video call with a therapist recommended by a friend. While it helped us communicate better, it also brought our differences into stark relief. The therapist asked us to envision our ideal future together, and we realized that our visions were completely incompatible. The final blow came when Zeke announced that he had accepted the job in New York. He hadn't even consulted me before making the decision. He gave me an ultimatum: either I move to New York with him within the next month, or we get a divorce. It was a painful moment, but it brought a strange sense of clarity. I realized that our marriage had been over for a while, and we were just going through the motions. The ambitious couple who had once dreamed of conquering the tech world together no longer existed. With a heavy heart, I told Zeke that I would not be moving to New York. I chose to stay in Oregon, with my family and the life I had rediscovered. Zeke and I are now in the process of getting divorced. It's been hard, but I know it's the right decision for both of us. We're trying to keep things amicable, but there's a lot of hurt on both sides. Dividing our assets and untangling our lives has been a painful process, bringing up memories of happier times and reminding us of the future we once imagined together. On a brighter note, Megan's condition has improved significantly. Her latest tests show that the cancer is responding well to treatment. Seeing her smile again after months of pain and uncertainty has reinforced that I made the right choice in staying. There's still a long road ahead, but for the first time since her diagnosis, we're allowing ourselves to feel hopeful. My remote job with Technocrat is going well. I've set up a small office in my old bedroom, surrounded by posters and mementos from my teenage years. It's a strange juxtaposition, writing code and attending virtual meetings in the same space where I used to dream about leaving Pine Grove. But it feels right, like I found a way to bridge my two worlds. When I'm not working, I've settled into a routine of helping out at the bakery. Mom and Dad are grateful for my support, and I feel more connected to my roots than ever before. We've even started talking about ways to modernize the bakery's operations, blending my tech skills with their baking expertise. I'm taking this time to rediscover myself outside of my marriage. It's scary but also exciting. I'm learning to be okay with being alone and focusing on what truly matters to me. I've reconnected with old friends from high school, joined a local book club, and even started taking guitar lessons, something I've always wanted to do but never found the time for in my busy Seattle life. As for the future, I'm not sure what it holds. But for now, I'm content knowing that I'm exactly where I need to be, surrounded by the people who love and support me unconditionally. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this chapter of my life. The divorce with Zeke was finalized last month. It was a bittersweet moment, the end of a relationship I once thought would last forever, but also the beginning of a new phase in my life. We managed to keep things civil, dividing our assets without too much conflict. Zeke has moved to New York, and from what I've heard through mutual friends, he seems to be thriving in his new job. We occasionally exchange polite emails, mostly about administrative things related to the divorce, but that's about it. Megan's health has continued to improve. Her doctors are cautiously optimistic about her prognosis. She's regained much of her strength and her spirit is brighter than ever. Seeing her laugh and joke around like she used to has been the greatest gift. She's even started helping out at the bakery again, much to our parents' delight. Watching her frost cupcakes with the same determination she's shown in fighting her illness fills me with an indescribable mix of pride and relief. The bakery has undergone some exciting changes. With my tech background and my parents' baking expertise, we've been able to modernize the business in ways I never imagined when I was younger. We've launched an online ordering system and started offering nationwide shipping for our most popular items. It's been amazing to see Sweet Memories Bakery grow beyond the borders of Pine Grove. Dad jokes that we're becoming the Amazon of pies, which always makes Mom roll her eyes affectionately. My remote job continues to go well. I found a good balance between my tech work and my commitments to the bakery and my family. The skills I honed in Seattle have proved invaluable in helping our family business adapt to the digital age. Recently, I've been approached about a potential promotion that would involve leading a team of remote workers. It's an exciting opportunity that would allow me to grow professionally while still remaining in Pine Grove. On a personal note, I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice to know that there are people out there who share my values and understand the importance of family. I've been seeing a guy named Alex, 31M, who runs a local organic farm. He's kind, down to earth, and gets along great with my family. It's too early to tell where things might go, but for the first time in a long while, I'm excited about the possibility of a new relationship. Looking back, I realized that the crisis with Megan and the subsequent fallout with Zeke, while painful, led me to where I truly belong. I've reconnected with my roots, strengthened my bond with my family, and discovered a resilience in myself that I never knew I had. The ambitious career woman I was in Seattle and the small town girl I used to be have finally found a way to coexist harmoniously. Pine Grove feels different now. It's no longer the place I was eager to escape from in my youth, nor is it the quaint, backward town that Zeke perceived. Instead, it's become a place of possibility, where tradition and innovation can coexist. The lessons I've learned and the growth I've experienced have shown me that you don't have to choose between your roots and your ambitions. With some creativity and determination, you can find a way to honor both. As I write this final update, I'm sitting in the bakery, the smell of freshly baked bread filling the air. Megan is laughing with a customer, Mom is experimenting with a new recipe, and Dad is proudly showing off our new website to a regular. This is home, in all its messy, wonderful complexity. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm no longer afraid of it. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, knowing that I have the strength of my family behind me and the lessons of the past to guide me. To anyone facing a similar situation, I want to say this: trust your instincts. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for prioritizing the people and values that matter most to you. Sometimes, the hardest decisions lead to the most unexpected and rewarding paths. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me. Your support and advice have meant more than you know.